Good evening, humans. So, I've been doing a bit of thinking recently, and if you know me, you know that I don't do that very often. But a few months ago, and I believe it might have been around February or March, I took a very rather, abrupt exit away from playing RPGs, or more specifically Atlas games as a whole. And then a few weeks ago, I called into the question my love for video games seemingly starting to fade. And obviously, with my love and passion seemingly fading with the hobby that I've had since practically birth starting to fade, I was tasked with the mission to find out what the fuck is wrong with me. And I think I've come to the conclusion, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am a dickhead. So, I've seen plenty of videos circulating around YouTube talking about JRPGs are outdated, JRPGs are so boring, JRPGs aren't boring, why I love JRPGs. And I was going to hop on the on the train of making one of these videos, and I've had this video planned out for months on end, I tell you, and I'm having to scrap the whole thing to make like a 15-20 minute commentary video instead of an extensively researched editorial. But you know, that's just how life is, bitch. So after being away from JRPGs for a few months, I've just had an uncontrollable urge that I just couldn't do away with, my dearest humans. And that itch was to play SMT V, finally. Now listen, dearest humans, to my weary plights. I was scared to play SMT V. Frightful, some would say. Those are synonyms. Why the fuck? Anyways. But this itch, this urge was so damn unbearable, I just had to give in and scratch the ever-living fuck out of it. And as soon as I did so, my dearest humans, it was like riding a damn bike. I was back to doing what I knew best. JRPGs are boring? Hell yeah, motherfucker, and I love them for that shit. Let me explain why. JRPGs are an odd genre. So rarely in gaming will you see an aspect of games that go untapped for so many years. I don't know when the first official JRPG would have been made. But when you play that game, when you look at old JRPGs from, let's just take 1997, Final Fantasy VII, and you look at a game like 2009's Final Fantasy XIII, take Persona 5, which came out, I believe, originally 2016 or 2017, almost a 20-year gap between Final Fantasy VII to Persona 5, in between that, Final Fantasy XIII. Look at the gameplay aspect of those three games, and even the starter JRPGs. Obviously, I know JRPGs did not start with Final Fantasy VII. It's just the oldest game I can think of at this current moment. The gameplay is really the same throughout all of those three games combined, even though they came out in completely different eras of gaming. And by the same, I'm really strictly only talking about the combat. Obviously, Persona 5 has its daily life, slice of life type anime, light novel type thing going for it. I'm strictly only talking about the combat of these three games. When you play one JRPG, you kind of played them all. You already know the insides and outs of how the game plays. The only thing combat-wise that distinguishes these three separate games away from each other would be the combat systems. Final Fantasy VII has the ATB, the active time battle system. Persona 5 and SMT in general has the press turn system, and Final Fantasy 13 has what I believe is known as the paradigm system or the paradigm shifts. I'd have to fact check myself on that. Hold on a second. Yes, I believe it was the paradigm shifts. But again, fundamentally, despite having a 20-year gap, all of these games practically play the exact same way. Whereas you take a different genre, and let's use one developer in this case, let's use Rockstar, and let's use Grand Theft Auto as an example. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, I believe that came out in 2004, does not play the same as GTA 4 that came out 4 years after in 2008, which does not play the same way as GTA 5, which came out in 2013. Some like quick maths. Okay, I'm not good at maths. Holy shit. Hold on a second. 5. The answer is 5. 5 years later. I may not be quick, but I'll get to the solution some way. But it's Rockstar. It's Grand Theft Auto. It's the same drive, shoot type game. But even still, you'd really just be lying to yourself if you said GTA San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto 4, and GTA 5 all felt like the same game to you. I've played plenty of traditional JRPGs, and I cannot name you a lot of them that I cannot name a lot that I feel really stick out and play differently from the other ones. The only ones I can think of off the top of my head right now would be obviously the Persona series, and then the most recently released Pokemon Arceus games. And a few hours ago, before I started playing SMT5, I would have classified this as a downfall of the series, and I definitely would have been screaming this at the high heavens a few months ago. But I'm not so sure I can call this a fault of the genre. I see JRPGs as a whole. All the individual series and families and developers of JRPGs as a family. And what I mean by this is, when I started playing SMT5, I noticed that I was playing it like I played every other Mega 10 game I've had my hands on. And I know that sounds rather redundant. Oh wow, you play a Persona game like a Persona game. Well, big deal, like no shit. What I mean by this is that these games in particular, SMT, are notoriously seen as difficult from newcomers or even people who've been with the series for a long time. These games are definitely not forgiving, but there's something about my initial first couple hours into SMT5 that I did not have in my previous encounters with the Shin Megami Tensei series, and that is prior knowledge from past playthroughs of other games. I know now, going into SMT5, that I just can't be trying to allocate my stats evenly, trying to be the most balanced player out like I did when I first started playing SMT4. I have to pick a playstyle and stick to that shit. I know now from my past playthrough of SMT3 that I have to be up on my freaking buffs, debuffs, and all of that to make sure I get through these boss encounters. I only have this prior knowledge that honestly gives me a bit of a head start towards newcomers who are playing this game or this series for the first time because of my past experience with the SMT series from previous games. And I only even have that knowledge and foresight on how to play SMT games from first starting out playing Persona games. See, you don't go into GTA San Andreas with the game plan of, oh, I have to get this, I have to get that. You just go guns blazing, complete the mission. If you fail, you just retry. The same thing with GTA 5, the same thing with GTA 4. They play fundamentally different, but your approach to all of them is pretty much going to be the same. It sounds weird, but I've had training wheels on how to play and tutorials on how to play SMT V by way of starting out with SMT 4, going on to SMT 3, playing Soul Hackers in the middle of that, and now I'm playing SMT 5 finally. I've established familiarity with the developers, Atlas, on how they implement their bosses, on how they want us to play through their game, and also simply the whole mythos of Megaten in general. When I started playing this game, already off the bat, I was just calling out demons that I've been calling out demons that I've been seeing and playing since I first started this whole entire Megaten journey with Persona 4. I was like, oh my god, that's my nigga Slime. That's my nigga Kodama chilling, hanging off the fucking light post in Tokyo. Oh, that's that bitch ass nigga Kaiwan who was fucking up my goddamn playthrough since SMT 3, and then he fucking pissed me the hell off in Soul Hackers, that little fucking. God damn it, you always have to bleep that word. I tell you to stop saying it. You always have to bleep it. Oh my god. Anyways, I didn't realize it, but there's a bond kind of being made with these games, with the whole entire lore of Megaten. I want to kind of think about it. I want to equate this into another JRPG. A JRPG that I'm not too familiar with, but I kind of know the ins and out of it. Pokemon. I have a friend who grew up in the 90s, and she's a huge Pokemon head. Like, she has hundreds of hours in Arceus. She has hundreds of hours in the blue, crystal, red, whatever. My nigga, Pokemon got some weird ass names. Shiny fucking Condom Gold is a Pokemon name in the future, I bet you. I'm a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. Anyways. But one thing that really stuck out to me when I tried to get into the Pokemon series, I started out with Red. It was the trading and being able to take your Pokemon across different games. Imagine like having your favorite gun in the original GTA on the PS1, and then having that gun follow you. You can import your save data from GTA 2, and then that same gun from GTA 3 into GTA 4 into GTA 5 into the next GTA. It's like there's a whole backstory and there's a whole love and history that you have with that gun. And in this case, it would be the Pokemon, obviously. In that aspect of Pokemon, I still think is so cool to this day. I mean, cross game unlockables have always been a stuck out in gaming that I don't see implemented very often, which kind of makes me a bit sad. But anyways, I'm sure for the 30 plus years that she's been rocking with the Pokemon series, 30 years of the Pikachus, of the Raichus, of the Diglets, and all that, I am so sure that seeing that world get taken to a new ground in Pokemon Arceus was such a nostalgic and such a warm, wonderful feeling for her that I simply did not have, because I don't have that established lore, and I don't know the Pokemon series like she does. I don't have that same heart in the series for Pokemon as I do for SMT, as I do for Megaten. And I was sitting here thinking, pondering on this video, and I'm just so excited for whatever the future of Atlas and Megaten has in store. Because trust me, I did not know that I was gonna have this. I've never had this type of feeling for a video game ever. There isn't another genre I can think of that kind of has this innate bond with the player that builds over time. I mean, think about the Final Fantasy series and its inside jokes, in a sense. Kind of like how every game in the Final Fantasy series has a character named Sid, or the Muggles, or the Moogles. I'm sorry, I forget which pronunciation it is. Seeing the evolution I was about to say the chocobos, but the evolution of the summons within each game. I'm not sure if they added any new summons. I'm not too big into the Final Fantasy series like that, but seeing new summons come inside the series, potentially. Seeing the same spells from 1997 that got you past Sephiroth and to beat your first Final Fantasy game still be rocking in the series some like 24 years later. 25 years later. I can't think of another video game genre that has that same thing, my nigga. Like, legitimately, think. My nigga, think. I'm talking to you, bitch. Think. I mean, first of all, I've said this previously. Most games don't even last. Most video game series don't even last that long. The developers will go off and make a different series after like the third game in the joint. The only thing I can think of right now that isn't a JRPG would be Super Mario. I'm sure there are so many people who have so much love and have so much pull for this nigga Mario, bro. I don't have that. But the fact that I'm starting to realize my love for SMT and Mega 10 in general, bro, it makes me so fucking excited to see where does this lead to? You know, if Atlas ever tries to, I don't know. What if we ever get a Pokemon Arceus type Mega 10 game or some open world type Mega 10 game? I don't know if they try to push the genre in any fashion, mate. I am waiting for the day because I know that game will be so damn beautiful. We already have Persona. And I know it's a whole meme to fucking shit on Persona. I mean, if I'm being fairly honest, I dog on Persona. I'm so glad I never look at the damn comments, bro. I'm sure I have some people heated every time I talk about Persona. Bro, every time I bring up Persona 5, bro, I'm always just dogging on it, bro. It's jokes, yo. I don't hate Persona. I have the platinum in Persona 5, bro. I love that game. I love that series, man. But one of my notes in the original draft of this video, where I was actually going to shit on JRPGs for like 30 minutes or whatever, I was going to talk about how there are some JRPGs that try to take the genre in a new direction, and one of the highlights would have been the Persona series. I mean, you have SMT that is really just it's a bare bones JRPG. It's a JRPG in the same vein that Final Fantasy VII. It's the same JRPG in the vein of Final Fantasy 13. But Persona 5 adds other aspects to that. It adds the slice of life deal, the daily life, the exploration that isn't seen within other JRPGs. And some people like it, some people don't like it. But Persona is literally a cross between two different genres. It's a cross between Danganronpa type gameplay in traditional JRPGs. And I find that mix so fucking beautiful. And I'm like, if Atlas wants to try a different mixture of genres into JRPGs, I am so ready for that. Because I'm so sucked in to the Mega 10, just the Mega 10 house, the Mega 10 family. I am here for it, and I'm ready to stay. And I don't know, I haven't looked at any videos of Soul Hackers, so maybe they have tried a different thing with Soul Hackers, but mate, they have so many different spin-offs of SMT that they can take in any direction. I mean, the Raito games were action RPGs instead of traditional JRPGs. Anyways, I'm getting so ahead of myself. I could talk your heads off, but mate, I think I've gotten my point across. JRPGs are fucking boring. And it's the only genre in gaming that can be boring because it makes up for its mundaneness with other wonderful aspects. It's been Justice, mates. I have some maths homework to do, so I have to Sudakarazo the fuck out of this video. Anyways, love you guys. Peace.